All right, guys. Welcome to this segment we've got on the Really Rad Dad podcast called the KeithMock. Every year, yours truly, Keith Brown, will kind of come out with their big board, and I figured on Madden, it's the easiest way to kind of show you what I'm thinking for this year's upcoming draft in the NFL to see what I think will shape out to happen. I do this every year, but we're kind of doing this. This is something new, so bear with us. We're going to do quarterbacks, halfbacks, wide receivers today. So let's start off with our field generals at the quarterback position. I also have what rounds I think, what pick, what round everyone I think is going to be going to. I've got Carson Strong as the first quarterback off the board. He's had a great year so far for Nevada, doing what he's supposed to against inferior teams and then some. 3 for 6 touchdowns 2 games ago. On the year, he has... let's see. 16 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, throwing for 68% completions, almost 2,000 yards in just 6 games. So he's really going above and beyond. Last year he had 27 touchdowns and 4 picks. Doesn't do a whole lot on the ground, but doesn't really need to. He's got great size as well. Just a really good player. He could throw the deep ball. He can hit you with mid accuracy as well. Just a great prospect who I think is going to do very well in the NFL. Matt Corral is another guy that a lot of people have been talking about. Really tough to judge him with his size. I mean, he's built like a 4th grader, to be honest. But he's doing great. He's a Heisman candidate front runner, limits the turnovers, and that is the big thing with him as far as evaluation for the next level. On the year, and there's some debate if he's 6 foot, 6'1". I think he's 6 foot. He looks tiny on the field. So as far as stats on the year, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. Isn't going to throw for 300-400 yard games consistently. He is playing top tier opponents in the SEC. However, last year as a redshirt sophomore, he threw for 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, 71% completion. So, he's got the arm talent. That's not the issue for me. It's the size and durability. Almost like a Teddy Bridgewater when he came out, as far as there's some concerns for durability. He might be 22, actually. I might have to look that up. And then Malik Willis, guy who played very, very well last year at Liberty. Didn't play the best of talent, of course, being at Liberty. Transferred from Auburn 2 years ago. So last year, his stats, he threw for 64%, 20 touchdowns, 6 picks in a shortened COVID season. He can run, he can take off, he can jet, man. As far as rushing goes, I mean, he consistently gets 100-yard games. He can do so much with his feet. I don't want to throw out Lamar Jackson out there because he doesn't have the elusiveness of him, but he's got the capabilities to run like him. Throwing power is just fucking phenomenal. He can chuck it 65 yards with a flick of the wrist. However, with all that said, the last few games has drawn a lot of concern for many folks. 6 picks in the last 2 games combined against ULM and Mid-Tennessee State University. That's University of Louisiana. I don't know, it's uh, UL Monroe. Sorry, UL Monroe Warhawks. 3 picks against them, and then 3 picks against Middle Tennessee, which is very troublesome. He should be handling business, and he's kind of doing the opposite right now. So he's fallen for me quite a bit to 25. 14 touchdowns, 6 picks on the year. He has to be near flawless at this level, though. I mean, in college football, not playing. So Desmond Ritter is a guy who is climbing and climbing. I think he was a 4th-round guy for me when I initially evaluated him. Preseason, heading into the season for Cincinnati. Really think he's grown this year. Very smart with the football. 13 touchdowns, 2 picks thus far in the season. He could do a little bit of work on the ground too, though. He's got a 45-yard game, 26, a few touchdowns. Throwing for 64% completions this year. You'd like to see it a little higher. You'd like to see him take more shots down the field in general too, but it might be the offense. They're not asking him to really unleash. But I think as it stands, as of today, October 21st, 2021, he's an early second. And then Slavis, I really, really, really liked him in his first year starting, taking over for JT Daniels. Played okay last year, playing kind of mediocre this year, to be honest. 9 touchdowns, 5 picks in 5 games thus far for USC. Not really cutting it, to be honest. He's been better the last couple of games, I will say. He had 5 touchdowns, 1 pick in the last 2. He threw for 401 against Utah in a losing effort. So we'll see what happens. 2 years ago, though, he was thrusted into a position as a freshman. 30 touchdowns, 9 picks, 72% completions. I really thought he had a high ceiling, but these past few years has proved otherwise for me. Brock Purdy, very, very consistent. Probably the best quarterback in Iowa State Cyclone history. Not very close. This year, though, he's not throwing for a ton of touchdowns. 9 touchdowns, 4 picks. Gotta say, the quarterbacks this year are very underwhelming for me. Yeah, I mean, 3 for 4 touchdowns against Kansas, but he should. I mean, it's Kansas. Had a little trouble against Baylor. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Against Iowa, he was just a ghost. He was a shell of himself. 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, 138 yards on 27 attempts. So, he's kind of regressed in his senior season, but I think he'll be a serviceable backup eventually. JT Daniels is super hard to evaluate because he keeps getting hurt, and he's got the arm talent, but he can't stay on the field, and I think he's lost a job for the year. Kenny Pickett is another guy who's he's got so much talent, but the consistency, you'd like to see him be more consistent with the ball. He's done pretty well this year. He's had a pretty good year for Pitt. 21 touchdowns, 1 pick. A lot of those passes are very short yardage. They don't ask him to push the ball down the field a ton, but he's had a really nice year. He could climb up. I could see him being a late 3rd, early 4th. Dorian Thompson from UCLA. He's been having a really good year. Dorian Thompson Robinson. I just couldn't fit the whole name in here. 13 touchdowns, 2 picks on the year. Does a lot of damage on the ground as well. Great runner for them. Had 87 against Washington last week. 96 rushing yards against Arizona State. 2 touchdowns against Stanford on the ground. More of a runner, though. They don't ask him to do a whole lot in the passing game. A lot of deke and dunk stuff, 60% passing. And then Phil Jurkovich, I don't know if I'm saying it right. He's a solid, just a solid college quarterback, a guy who will probably end up being a third string quarterback in the NFL. If that, might be a practice squad guy, but I wanted to throw him in there because he had potential heading into the season. So we'll see. He might even come back for his senior year at Boston College. Players gained a fifth year of eligibility, or another year of eligibility. Before I wrap up quarterbacks, though, you will notice I do not have Spencer Rattler, and I do not currently have. Why can't I think of his name? Oh my God, my brain is like Sam Howell. Sorry, I did not have Sam Howell. I do not have Spencer Rattler because I feel like they need to go back and do another year. Each of them have 2 years of eligibility left. So if it were close and the guys had like 22 touchdowns, 15 picks or something like that, then yeah, they'd probably go in the NFL. But they're not even remotely close to being first-round picks. So for that reason, I think they're going to be coming back for another season. On to running backs. Isaiah Spiller is by far, I think, the best running back in this class. However, you've got Kenneth Walker III coming up, starting to nip at his heels a little bit. He's coming up in conversations as second round, first year, or first round, even potentially pick. But the thing that separates Spiller is his receiving ability, and he's a willing blocker too. He kind of does it all. He's big, he can truck, but he's quick. He's deceptively fast. Change in direction. He's got great change in direction. He's got 18 catches on the year, coming off a season last year. He had 20 catches. Year before that, he had 29 catches, so very capable receiver as well. This year, so far, he's got 659 rush yards on 6.3 average. He was big in the red zone against Alabama, helped them beat Bama. You look at matchups, particularly top 25 matchups, only had 46 yards against Bama, but did what he needed to do, like I said, in the red zone. Had 100 against Mississippi State and 168 against Mizzou. Kenneth Walker is just having incredible games. You can't talk about Kenneth Walker without talking about Le'Veon Bell. He reminds me of him with his physicality and size. Michigan State guy, Sparty, right? 5'10", 210, and probably the most physically imposing running back. And that's saying a lot because Isaiah Spiller is a big fucking dude. Kenneth Walker just had a game against Rutgers a couple weeks ago, 233 rush yards, 3 touchdowns against Western Kentucky, 126, handled business there. Against Miami, he had 172 yards. The only thing that hurts him is his inability to be a pass-catching back. I don't know if he's going to be a 3-down back. But, man, I'm really excited to watch him at the next level. Breece Hall is awesome. I love Breece Hall. He would be right where Kenneth Walker is if it wasn't for him and the season he was having, to be honest. So far, he's had a solid year. Thought he'd have more bigger games up to this point, but he's doing what he's supposed to. He's averaging 5.6. He's got 748 on the year. in 5 games. So, he just had a really nice game, though, against Kansas State, 197. Um, he's had a really nice stretch of the past 4 games. He's really putting it together. I think he's really bolstering that resume. He's got 21 catches on the year, too. I mean, he's right there with Kenneth Walker. And then Brian Robinson. So what Nick Saban loves to do is I gotta change that name. He's a Robinson Jr. He loves to use these backs sparingly to keep them in college for an extra year or two. He did it with Damian Harris. He did it. You can go back so many years, and he just limits these guys' carries, and it's smart as hell, honestly, because he keeps these guys until they're seniors. Now Brian Robinson is a senior. He's having a nice year. 5.2 average per carry, 8 touchdowns. Great red zone guy. 599 thus far on the ground, and 13 catches. He's proving to be a capable receiver as well. So he's got great physical attributes too. I think he's very shifty in space. And then Zonovan Knight, another guy. He's got very rare physical tools. Where he's big, right? He looks physically imposing, 220 pounds, but he's fast too. He's shifty. You notice his speed; it's up there with the other guys. I mean, you look at speed, and he's tied for the fastest of all these guys that I've got thus far. So, on the year, he's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. He's doing what he has to. He got 85 a couple weeks ago against Louisiana Tech, 79 rush yards against Clemson. He's having a decent year, not great, but I think he's going to be late 2, early 3. And then James Cook, kind of similar what the Georgia Bulldogs do with their guys. Only the fact that they just have such a surplus of talent. They don't mean to hold out carries on these guys, I'm sure. He's averaging 6.3 yards per rush. He's used very sparingly, but he's been great in the red zone. He's got a receiving ability too, though. He's had 11 catches thus far this year, but man, this guy gets limited snaps. He just had 51 yards on 6 carries against Kentucky, 87 against Arkansas to help them win on 12 carries. Just the fact that Samir White's in the same backfield kind of hurts his stock, but at the same time, I think teams are going to see he's a good back. Kennedy Brooks, people forget about him, right? I feel like he's been at Oklahoma for like 6 years, but he's had a really nice college career, coming off 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He averaged 6.5 yards per carry last year. He's got good size. People just really forget about him. He had 8.9 yards per carry as a freshman. This year he has 6.9. I think he's going to be a very consistent, second, probably halfback 2 on some team down the road. I like him a lot. He's had some really good games of late. He's really turned it up. He had 217 yards on the ground against Texas to help them win. TCU, he had 153 yards. He's really cranking it up. I think the nation is taking notice, and I think he's going to be a round 3 guy. Kyron Williams, it's very hard to evaluate him because Notre Dame's had such a weird season, right? They're just up and down, all the injuries. But I think what sets him apart from a lot of these guys, not his size, he's 5'9", 199. He's not the most physically imposing guy, but his pass catching ability. He had 35 catches last season in a short season too. 19 for 200 thus far. Not averaging a whole lot on the ground, 3.9, but I think his pass catching ability, he's probably the best pass catcher in this entire draft. I think I've got him as such. Yeah, 72 catch, 69 catch in traffic. That's what's going to separate him, I feel like, because he could be a third down guy ultimately. Then Cameron Harris, explosive back out of the U. Sorry. He's got good size too. He stands at 210. I like him a lot. Doesn't get a whole lot of work. In some games, he'll get 5-10 carries, but he's done well for his opportunities. 5.8 yards per carry thus far. He's got good size though. Samir White is very similar. Again, Georgia, they really like to spread the ball. Got 400 yards on 4.8 attempts, 4.8 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns on the year. Had a touchdown against Kentucky. Had 2 touchdowns against Auburn 2 weeks ago. 79 yards. Can't really catch a whole lot out of the backfield, although that's not really his role in the system. Letty Brown, I like him a lot. He's got good agility. I think he's going to be a sleeper, to be honest. I think he's going to be a mid-round guy who really does well at the next level. He only averages 4.4 yards per carry right now, but West Virginia's got issues on the offensive line too. I'm not trying to make excuses. He's got 17 catches thus far. Last year had 31 in a shortened season for 202 yards. He's very versatile though. He's a very shifty back who makes you miss in space. I like him a lot, and I think he could be a mid-round steal. Chris Rodriguez is a very intriguing one because up until the Georgia game, I thought he was like a late third-round guy, mid-third-round guy. He's put together a nice little career at Kentucky. 6.6 yards per carry last year, 785 yards. This year he's got 775 yards, 6.1 average. However, he came off a nice game against LSU for 147 on 16 attempts. Against Georgia, 7 carries, 7 yards. They stuffed him. I will say that Georgia D-line is insane, but makes you wonder. And then Tyler, I'm not sure if I'm even saying it right. Algier, maybe. Very similar story with him. Had a nice season, and then against Baylor, he shit an egg. He had 15 carries for 33 yards, 2.2 average. Against Boise State, the game before, 19 for 73 at 3.8 average. So you wonder, he's playing these more formidable opponents. Same thing against Arizona State, 3.3 yards per carry on 21 attempts. You kind of wonder. Eric Gray has not done well. I mean, heading into this season, people thought Eric Gray would be a Heisman candidate, and he's been anything but. Kennedy Brooks has taken all the carries from him, essentially, because he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything with his touches. He's got 4.8 yards per carry, but let's see, against TCU last week, 6 carries for 11 yards. Week before against Texas. 6 carries for 37, not bad. Against West Virginia, 12 for 38. He's just not the explosive guy that we expected, that we saw at Tennessee, really. It's part of it, you wonder if it's having Trey Smith there, having more consistent offensive linemen there. Not that Oklahoma doesn't have great linemen, but Jerrion Ealy out of Ole Miss, not playing particularly well against top-tier opponents the last few weeks. I moved him down a bit. 4.7 yards per carry, but he had 7 for 19 against Tennessee, 9 for 16 against Alabama. And then Traylon Smith kind of has been fizzling out. I like his speed, however. I really do, but his size is a little troublesome as well. 5'9", 194. That's tough to stay in the NFL at that size. I'm not going to lie. Kind of a Donnell Pumphrey situation from San Diego State. I believe the Eagles drafted him in 2015. You really wonder, though. 3 carries for 4 yards against Georgia, 17 for 82 against Texas A&M, which isn't bad. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if his size is going to keep him in the NFL. C.J. Verdell, he's kind of built different. You know, he is 5'8", but he's 2'11". I like his size for his stature. Very, 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 very shifty. He's always been a great returner, and I think that's exactly what he's going to be at the next level. A returner. Hope he comes back from injury, as he was injured last year, too. Just hope he could stay healthy enough at the next level. Skip over fullbacks. Sorry, fullbacks. Chris Olave, best hands probably in this draft. Him and Jahan Dotson have great hands. But he's got great short route running. I like what he does with his routes. Jahan Dotson is a guy that I've really, you turn on the tape and you're a guy, you're just like, what the hell? This guy just jumps off the tape, creates so much separation. Sean Clifford has not been great this year. Had to go to their backup a couple weeks ago. Very inconsistent quarterback play right now. 494 yards receiving in 5 games. He had 78 on 10 catches against Auburn, 8 catches against Iowa for 48 yards, had 2 touchdowns against Illinois on 84 yards. You look at the numbers, 10 catches, 7 catches, 8 catches, 8 catches. So he's doing what he's got to do. He's got great hands, creates separation. It's a little small, but I don't mind it. Garrett Wilson, another really solid, smooth route runner. He's a guy that you want to throw underneath to and just let him do the work, really. It's got great agility and change of direction. I think he's going to be a really nice pro at the next level. Treylon Burks, all this guy does is ball out against SEC opponents, to be honest. He's got really good size too. At 6'3", he can kind of do it all, to be honest. He had 9 catches for 109 against Auburn, 7 for 136 against Ole Miss. A little worrisome against Georgia, 3 for 10, but against Texas A&M, 6 for 167. I mean, the guy just goes off. David Bell, he just went nuts in his last game against Iowa for 210, I believe. I shot him off the draft board. He's got to be in first-round territory now. Really solid route runner. Got fluid hips. I like this year's wide receiver class. I think it's wildly underrated, to be honest. Bell's got 679 on the year so far. 17.9 average per catch. Having a great year for the Boilermakers. Not only did he have 240 against Iowa on 11 catches, but he had 6 catches for 120 the week before against Minnesota. Against Notre Dame, he had 7 for 64, 3 touchdowns against UConn. I mean, he's having a great year. And then Drake London, he's a little interesting to study, to be honest, because he doesn't have the best hands, right? He's not like a pure-handed catcher. He needs his body, which is a little troublesome. Decent route runner. I like his medium route running, a little better than his short route running. As you'll see here, he goes from 75 to 78. He's a nice red zone target. I think that's what kind of puts him over the top. Now, he did just have a game. I cannot leave out the fact that he just had 16 catches for 162 yards against Utah. That's huge, right? I'd say 90% of those catches were within 5 yards, though. I'm not trying to shit on the guy. I'm just saying. He's having an awesome year, though. He's running away with the Biletnikoff, if I'm being honest. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that USC has been down all season and they're just airing it out. You know, again, I'm not trying to shit on the guy. He's had an amazing season. He's worked very hard. I think he deserves to be a first, second round pick. But I like him, but don't love the hands. George Pickens, very interesting guy here. Got hurt in the bowl game against Cincinnati last year. This guy is the real deal. I mean, like, he is incredible in the red zone. He's going to be a star in this league, so I put him at star development on Madden. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? I think, yeah. He got hurt young. He was 20 years old, tore his ACL. He's actually running routes in practice right now, so I'm hoping we can see him back on the field this year. Jamison Williams is another really, really, really interesting guy from Alabama. I don't know if we're going to see him enter the draft, but I think he needs to strike while the iron is hot because right now he is just torching opponents. 20 yards per catch, 587 yards on the season. He's 6'2". He's got a lot of nice physical tools. Great returner. He just had 2 for 77 against Mississippi State with a long of 75. Texas A&M, 10 catches for 146 yards. The guy is awesome. He could be a guy that shoots up boards too. As the year runs on, Jalen Naylor, really nice deep threat for Michigan State. I like his speed. Dante Demas Jr. from Maryland. He's been putting together a very nice season for the Terrapins. 507 yards on the year, 18.1 average. He's a nice deep threat for them. Coming off a shortened season. Justin Ross, not coming back super strong, I'm not going to lie. That drop on the 5-yard line, little troublesome. I'm sorry. On the 5-yard line, when it was against, I believe it was Stanford. Yeah, they played Stanford and lost. No, I'm sorry. It was NC State. Ball was literally right between his hands. He's just doesn't have the greatest hands right now. Not running complete routes to me right now. I think he's very talented, though. So you could see him go in the 3rd round still. Jaylen Tolbert, a guy who's producing at a very high level at South Alabama. 19.9 yards per catch, 718 yards. He's going to be a Biletnikoff Award finalist. Javon Hiley. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But a really nice receiver from Coastal Carolina. One of my favorite teams. 676 yards on the year, 19.3 average. He's got good size, great body control. Just put up 103 last night against App State. Romeo Dubes, guy that Carson Strong is really getting comfortable with now. He's got nice speed, especially for his size. 14.9 average yards per catch. Pretty nice receiver. Trey Turner, another nice receiver who has deep threat ability. And then Kelvin Austin, he is having a hell of a year for Memphis. Let's see. He is 5'9", 162, which is extremely troublesome, but some team can use him as a gadget. He's got 857 receiving yards thus far. I like him a lot, honestly. He's putting up ridiculous numbers, though. 200 yards, 104, 142, 105. And then Khalil Shakir from Boise State. I like his size a lot. I've got him undrafted right now, but let me move him up. Yes, I named a guy bend over. I did not do all tight ends. But yeah. That is my quarterbacks, halfbacks, and wide receivers. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, at RedDadPod for more KeithMock coverage. Thank you again, and have a good one, guys. Peace.